Vision. Following clues left by our ancestors, we unbury the past to reveal a knowledge of unfathomable value, putting us just a little closer to our own true birthrights. From the secret history of a possible bloodline of Jesus Christ, to secret history of America's founders, to the secret history of extraterrestrial interaction on our planet, here to bring light to the night. Your host for Night Vision Radio, Renee Barnett.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Night Vision Radio. I am your host, Renee Barnett. We have a great show planned for the night, which sort of follows on to last week's show. But before we get started, I really feel strongly led to first give my condolences to the families of the victims of those horrific murders in Atlanta. And my heart just goes out to those families. You know, many of us know what it feels like to lose someone. And it's just heartbreaking that these victims' families, especially their children, some of them had kids, that they're now starting out on this journey that is so difficult. And I hope that they ultimately find peace. And, I have to say, when President Biden spoke to them today, and he said, he looked that the day would be coming when they thought about their loved ones, they would get a smile on their face before a tear came to their eye, and that whether they could feel that now or not, that day will come. And I completely agree with that. I know what it's like to grieve someone, and to grieve a child, and to grieve a parent. But it does get better with time. So our hearts are with you, and God bless you all. Anyway, now, last week, if you guys were listening, we had on Dr. Christopher Kerr, who was with Boston Palliative and Hospice Care. My goodness, I can't speak tonight. And he talked about his studies of his dying patients. Hospice care is obviously sort of the last stop for patients when they're no longer treatable and death is imminent. And he started taking notes and recordings of people's dying statements and their quote-unquote visions. I said to Dr. Kerr, I didn't know whether visions would be the right word or not, because they're seeing what they're seeing. To them, they're just, to me, it seems like they're seeing another reality, which I don't see that as really being like a vision, which almost is akin to a hallucination in my book. But it was very interesting how there was sort of a process by which, as they got closer toward the end of their lives, they started having these accelerated experiences of seeing their loved ones who passed over. And the closer they got to death, the more peaceful they were about it, and how they found these visitations and things, these messages, very, very comforting, very comforting. So on the other side of that, then we have, once those people do pass away from this earth and go to the other side, whatever that is for you, can we then continue to communicate with them? And that's what tonight's show is all about. And my guest tonight is a great friend and an extremely talented paranormal investigator, especially when it comes to EVP, electronic voice phenomena. And he is one half of the team of Tony and Cherie Rathman. We couldn't get Cherie on tonight, so I promised her we were going to talk about her. And then we may have a surprise guest coming up at the top of the hour, as well as I'm going to tell you guys about the latest event that's coming out from the Dark Zone Network. It's going to be pretty exciting, and I'm excited that it's right here in Los Angeles. But of course, it's available to everyone around the world. So I'll be telling you more about that right after the break at the top of the hour. But first, I'd like to welcome my good friend, Tony Rathman. Hey, Tony.
Thanks, Renee. It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, Tony, the other thing is that you are no stranger to KGRA because you are a member of the KGRA family. And
yes, I am, and they're a wonderful network, no doubt about it.
I know. I'm not going to brag on Bill too much because he gets all full of himself, and then he'll start treating me bad. So I'm not going to do that.
They have amazing employees, and Bill is definitely one of them.
Oh my God, Bill knows I love him to death. Yeah, they're all great over there. I don't have a bad word to say about anybody. And I better not since I'm on their network, but I wouldn't because it's a great kind of family atmosphere, which I like. They do have a loyalty to their hosts and kind of give us our reign on, the information that we're putting out as I believe it should be. And it's just been a wonderful experience. I think I finally found a good home.
Yeah, I completely agree with. They put a ton of effort into creating, new things. They put up the new website. They put up the new video platform. They put a ton of work into advancements for the station, and they've done some amazing things. And yeah, just a great group to work with.
Yeah, and I do like, the way that they've expanded their roster of shows. We've got a lot of different types of shows now on KGRA, so it's like there's something for everybody.
You are absolutely correct there. I mean, from everything from UFOs to political stuff going on to they've broadened that immensely, and yeah, there is absolutely something for everyone.
Yeah, I think there's some new things coming on the horizon too. And you know what? They didn't even make us say all this either. This is all voluntary. Because we do love it so much. Now, Tony, tell us a little bit before we get too far down the road about your show on KGRA. When can we see it? And you're actually on video.
We are. Yeah, we're a live stream video show, which is perfect for the type of show that we do. And our show is called Entity Voices Paranormal Evidence. And what we do is we take other investigators like ourselves, and the group that does the show is our Entity Voices team, and we're all paranormal investigators and actually paranormal investigating couples. So we're the hosts of the show, but then we go out and interview other investigators who have captured evidence, and the evidence that we show videos, photographs, EVPs, spirit box communication, and it's absolutely fascinating to watch from one perspective of being able to see what others capture, see the similarities between what we capture and they capture and how they do it, what tools they use to capture it, and where they captured it. So it's a fascinating show if you're into paranormal and want to see actual evidence that's captured.
Yeah, absolutely. It's quite amazing. I mean, as you know, I'm definitely impressed with it, and I would have to say I really consider myself a bit of a skeptic. I mean, I'm open to things, but I'm one of those people that I like to see evidence. Right. I like to, I want to experience it for myself. It's not that I don't believe my friend who's telling me that they had this experience, that they saw something, heard something. I believe that for them, that was absolutely real. But it's still hard for me to totally get my head around it unless I've been able to see something. So that's been the most exciting part about meeting you and Cherie, was that from word go, I saw the evidence. So that was quite amazing. In fact, if you don't mind, I'll share how we met.
Sure.
Our mutual friend and colleague, Jeanette Lewis, who's the daughter of that world famous dowser who helped out the government and the military during the war, finding these, tunnels that were being used by the enemy. And she also, I guess, inherited that talent. But anyhow, Jeanette and I had been talking, and she called me one day. I happened to be over in France and had my friend Tim Wallace Murphy had just passed away. Some of you listeners might know Tim Wallace Murphy. He's a very well-known writer and writes about the Knights Templar and that sort of historical genre that deals with like royal bloodlines and that sort of thing. And I think Tim had only been gone a couple weeks when I got there. And so Jeanette calls me and she says, "Oh, you've got to meet this guy, Tony Rathman. He's got this spirit box that you just won't believe." She said, "It's just unbelievable." And I'm going, "Well, okay." I said, "Well, have him give me a call." So you did. And I it was shortly after I spoke with her, you called me and we chatted. You were telling me, a bit about what you do. And I had the audacity to ask you, "Hey, can you contact a specific person?" And
Yep.
you said, "Well, that's not really what we do. What we do is we go into locations and we communicate, with the spirits who are wanting to communicate with us and, who are there. But," you said, I think it's, it's possible. And I think you'd already done it a couple of times. I think perhaps you'd already contacted the father of Tracy Austin, another host on KGRA,
That is
who had
correct.
passed
Yes.
away. And so therefore you said, "Well, I'll give it a try." And so the next day I get a short audio clip via Facebook Messenger, and I click on it. And within 30 seconds, I had leapt up. I was sitting on my bed upstairs at my friend Jeannie's house, and I leapt up and just tore down the stairs screaming, "Jeannie, Jeannie, Jeannie." And she's going, "What is it? What is it?" I'm in the bath. And I'm going, "Oh my God, oh my God." She goes, "Well, for God's sakes, come on in." So I interrupted her in the bathtub, for goodness sakes, and said, "Okay, just listen to this and tell me what you hear." She listened and she says, "Oh, that's Tim." And I said, "Oh my God, I'm not crazy. I really did hear it." And then I had sent it to James Martin, who is a regular on this show, who actually took care of Tim the last couple of years of his life.
Yeah,
And
I remember that. Yeah.
yeah, so I just sent it to him and said, "Whatever you're doing right now, stop it and listen to this clip. Just tell me what you think," because I didn't tell him anything about what it was. And he just immediately typed back, "That's Tim, all right." And I thought, oh my goodness. So I was hooked by that time, about on your equipment that you have developed.
That
Mainly,
was a breaking point for us as well, and it opened up doors that we really hadn't traveled through prior. Yeah, we did do, like you said, we did one session for Tracy, and we were able to get her father as well. And the interesting thing about that one was that the response that he gave, the machine, the voice that came through, the machine picked up the accent. It displayed, from an audio standpoint, his dialect and the verbiage he used.
yeah.
And when Tracy listened to it, of course, she said, "Oh my God, that's my father. That's exactly how he would have said it. That's how he pronounces things." And that kind of opened up the door. So we did a few others to see what else the machine was capable of accomplishing. And you were speaking of Jeanette. We had even worked with Jeanette on some cold cases for murders, and some other ones as well. And the information that the Evox spit out was just absolutely phenomenal. We did ones for Heidi Hollis, but all of this really only started occurring maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago, that we start. Oh, maybe it's been longer. I don't know. Time goes by so fast now.
Yeah.
But maybe it was more like 3 years ago. But
I think it was. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, we realized that the box can do so many things we had never thought about using it. And, and even today, there's other areas that we're researching and going down. Like, one of the main questions is, well, who are you actually speaking to? And that's a question that, is part of the research. We're not 100% sure. We know many times we're speaking with disembodied spirits. But there's other times we're wondering, okay, are these extraterrestrials? Are these multidimensional creatures? Are they beings we're not even have any knowledge of? But those are other areas of research that we continue to try to expand on and figure out what else this equipment is capable of doing.
Right. Like you told me from the beginning that, your main thing was to go to locations and see what was there, see who wanted to communicate.
Yep.
And so I would imagine in doing the work where you're trying to reach a specific individual, that sometimes they might be wanting to come through, or maybe available to come through, and sometimes maybe not.
That is correct. And, there's so many reasons why that could be. There is no understanding of how the spirit realm works, how time works, how dimensions work, where they're capable of traveling to, if that's even has limitations for them. Then there's the understanding that they could be on one side of the world or maybe even outside of the world. In order to get them to communicate through a single box in a single location, regardless of where that location is, can definitely be tricky in itself.
I would imagine so. I won't reveal any names, but, fairly recently, I tried to pull in a favor from you and asked if you would try to communicate.
Yep.
With a good friend of mine who passed away about 3 years ago, and that, for his wife who
right.
is desperate to hear from him. And, frankly, between you and me and all the listeners, she had been sort of asking me, for a while. And one of the reasons that I didn't approach you with it was just because, I felt like it was a lot to ask, you to take your time and do. But honestly, probably the more overriding thing was, I guess I was kind of afraid, that it might not work, and that, she would take that to mean that it was because he didn't want to communicate with her. And so I want to make it really clear that that's not necessarily the case.
No, it's not at all. And I would highly doubt that they wouldn't respond because he didn't want to respond to her. There are challenges, and the fact of the matter is we don't have all the answers of how it works. I mean, one of the biggest questions is, it's not a two-way audio broadcast like we're doing tonight on the radio, where there's a signal going out from me, there's a signal going out for you, and then it's being transmitted by the station out to all over the place. Mm-hmm. And that communication goes both ways. Well, when a spirit communicates through either a digital recorder or an ITC device, how our voice gets to them, that's question number one. Question number two, which there's, some theories at least on, is how their voice comes through the box. Because when we ask questions, we're not sending any any type of signal out. I'm literally just asking the questions out loud, and the responses come through the box.
Right.
And how that happens, those are all questions for further research on how that happens. But I can understand your concerns in saying, well, I was afraid to ask because of whatever outcome may occur. But I can tell you we've done 2 tests already. We haven't had success yet, but I have a very special one planned. I'm either going to get to tonight or tomorrow with a different type of box, and I'll let you know how that goes. Okay.
Will it help if I sit here and yell at him to please give a message to your wife?
You know what? It as funny as that sounds, it actually might.
Okay.
And for anyone out there in the audience who doesn't think that there are spirits around us on a regular basis, there are. And the connection between you and these people will definitely help. This gentleman does not know me, so there may be some hesitancy on his part just because he's not sure who I am, even though I explained who I was, explained my connection through you. But again, so by you saying, yeah, go talk, it's fine to say something to your wife. Yeah, I would.
Tony's a good guy. You can trust him, and trust him to give the message.
Yep.
Yeah. So I will definitely try that, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate it, and hoping for the best. But I do want her and everyone to know that just because you haven't gotten a message from your loved one, I don't think that necessarily means they don't want to see you or to communicate with you, or they don't care about you. Certainly not any of that. I know
you're absolutely correct, Renee. There are so many reasons, and over the last 11 years of doing this type of research, we know that if somebody is fearful of spirits or the paranormal, and they're concerned about maybe experiencing something, we know that human spirits will literally obey that and understand that they're scared and not interact. We also know that they may not interact because there is a boundary between earthbound spirits and spirits outside who have already passed on. There are rules and laws by which they follow. And some of it is, I think, to keep us in the 3-dimensional world that we're living in. I mean, if you could literally hear spirits talk on a regular basis with your own ears and know that spirits are living beyond your life here, it'd be really hard to focus on whatever we're being expected to be taught here or learn here, or what lessons we're supposed to acquire. So I think those boundaries are put in place. I mean, if you look at the human body alone, it's like a giant Faraday cage to the paranormal. Our eyes don't see in the spectrums needed to see spirits on a regular basis. Not that they're not seen, but we see invisible light. We don't see in infrared. We don't see in full spectrum. Our hearing drops off at 20 hertz, and again on the high end of 20 megahertz. While spirits seem to communicate below 20 hertz, which is why you need an ITC device or a digital recorder with a high enough sensitivity mic to be able to pick it up. So it's kind of like we're not supposed to be regularly interacting. And there's so many things we've figured out and gotten information on that shows that there are rules, and spirits do follow them.
Now, interestingly, a lot of people, sort of have a lifelong interest in the paranormal, especially people that are involved in the paranormal as much as you are. But you weren't really that guy, were you? You were kind of more of a hard science technical type guy who were not really interested in this at all.
It wasn't so much that I wasn't interested, but I was like you, that if I didn't see it myself, everybody's got a story about the paranormal or an experience.
Yeah.
But without evidence to back it up,
Yeah.
It's just a story. And unless it happened to you, it's not even a personal story. So the effect lessens considerably.
That's right.
So, and plus my father, when I was a kid, he was a physical science, chemistry, and physics teacher. So every question I asked about how something worked or something about the world, it was all science-based, which was great then.
Yeah.
But paranormal didn't fall into that scientific method of how things occur. And so I didn't really pay attention until I met my wife. And
I love this story.
She had a big interest in the paranormal. She grew up in the Philippines, and they have a very rich history of believing in life after death and ghost stories. And she grew up realizing she had an interest. Well, then one Valentine's Day, she said, "Hey, I want to do something different. I want to go ghost hunting." And I was like, "What?" But I didn't want her mad at me for until the next Valentine's Day. So I said, "Sure, yeah, we can do that." So I bought some cheap equipment and we went. And when we got home, the evidence she had was amazing.
What was it? Do you remember?
Yep. I had bought her a digital camera, a EMF meter, a night vision camera, and what was the other item? I don't remember off the top of my head, but we literally had voices on recording. We had photographs. She had actually captured an apparition walking across the room on video. She had things in photographs that weren't there when we took them. It absolutely for months blew me away. And I spent months trying to scientifically find reasonable and logical answers for what she had captured, and I could not do it.
Oh my gosh. So after you kind of exhausted all the means of, debunking it, then you kind of had to maybe think, well, maybe it really is something I'm not familiar with.
Well, yes. But before I even jumped to that, I said, let's go back. I want to see if this can be duplicated. Well, it did. And not only was it duplicated, it increased. And I think we investigated that particular hotel over 50 times since we began. And yeah, we were able to duplicate the voices, the same voices.
Oh,
we were able to get names from them. We were able to call out that name and have them respond both through EVP and ITC devices. And it just kept growing. And, after about, I don't know, maybe a year, it was no longer a matter of me trying to debunk it. It was, okay, this exists. And what else can we find out?
Yeah. I mean, in the Evox, it just has some of the most clear evidence that I've ever heard. There's not as much, background noise and all that craziness.
Yeah, we originally started with an SP7 and they work very well. And you've got people on one side of the paranormal that says, hey, you need that white noise in order to get the best communication. And some of that might be true. And we've made ones with the white noise and the most recent one without. But what the Evox has produced, or the Evox 2.0 at least, has absolutely been amazing. But it is crystal clear. It is absolutely silent when it's running until a voice comes through, and it's crystal clear.
Wow. And I'm sure it does make a difference what kind of equipment that you have, and especially to get the most clear evidence. But do you think it also has something to do with who's operating the equipment?
Without a doubt. And if there's theories out there that your own consciousness can affect the devices. And that makes perfect sense. I mean, if you think that the device is able to communicate with disembodied spirits or entities, and they have the ability to send a message that can be translated and spit out through the box, then why wouldn't it be possible for the exact same consciousness which is encased in your body to be able to also interact with that box, or anyone else's for that matter?
Right. And I know that you guys sort of have procedures that you use when you go into a location, and it's a matter of respect, really.
Yep.
You sort of introduce yourselves as you go in to whoever might be there to hear it, and ask to speak with them respectfully and that sort of thing. Do you think that really has an effect on maybe the quantity of evidence that you're able to gather? I know you wouldn't want to try the opposite and go in there and say, okay, you damn ghost, you better start talking right now. But I have seen actually, some paranormal investigators kind of yelling at the spirits, or,
Yep.
kind of being mean to them and things like that. I would think that wouldn't produce very good results.
No, and if you look at it from a perspective of, if you did that to another human being, would that get you good results? No. You're gonna irritate them. I mean, if somebody came up to me and started screaming and yelling at me to do something, or they're going to do this or that, or I'm either going to flat out or ignore them or punch them out. But
yeah.
So yeah, that wouldn't work. Now, when you think about spirits or entities, they hopefully were once human, and they're people. They're people without a body. But that was one of the things that my wife said to me when we first started investigating. And we'd go to a new location, I'd break out the equipment and just start rattling off questions because I was so excited to get responses.
Yeah.
But she'd always say to me, stop. Let's introduce ourselves. Let's tell them who we are. Let's tell them why we're here, that we just want to communicate, that we're not going to, force them out or hurt them or make anything difficult. We just want to communicate. So I took her advice, and we have done that for the last 11 years. And that trust that has occurred, because they know we're not there to hurt them. We're not going to try to force them out. That we're only there to communicate, absolutely has built a connection that has increased the amount of communication we receive.
That's really wild. And how you were talking about, there's kind of a symbiosis between the user of the technology and the technology. I really believe that. It's almost scary in a way. It almost, sort of reminds me of AI, artificial intelligence, right, or something. But and I know you mentioned Heidi Hollis earlier. I know she's done some research into, phenomena like, sort of being connected to machinery and being able to affect electronic equipment and things like that. And I know that way back in the early days of the internet, when I was hired as a researcher in television, it was like, I don't even know what, it was like search engines like Metacrawler that we were using, and Mozilla and things like that. But I started observing, when it was time to, look into something, that it would almost just happen automatically, that as soon as I thought about looking for something, it would almost jump out of the computer at me. And it was like, I felt like there was some kind of a connection between me and the computer.
Sure.
And I think, and I still do that. I still feel that. And sometimes it's fun just to get on and start a thread. And then the next thing comes, and then the next thing, and then before you know it, you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I just found this. But
Right.
I kind of see what you're doing with your technology as sort of the same that it's like you're connected to it when you're using it, and it's going out to them, and it's coming back to you through that. But it does seem to be like there's something more to be learned about the interaction of humans and technology.
Without a doubt. And one of the most fascinating things about, and it doesn't matter whether it's EVP or ITC, one of the most fascinating things about when you receive a message is there is so much information that comes from that EVP that, to me, far outweighs any other piece of equipment from a paranormal perspective. And the reason I say that is because when you get a message, regardless of even what the message says, whether it's an adult or a child, whether it's male or female. You can tell if there is any type of accent in the voice or whether it's a different language. You can get a sense of emotion, fear, happiness, sadness from the tone of the voice. And you can get all that information before you even hear what the response is that they gave. And you get that on top of everything else. So to us, it was just it was a piece of evidence that just couldn't be compared to a light flashing saying something was in the room, or it's just there was just too much there to keep the mind going to figure out other answers.
Yeah. In preparation for the show today, I was just kind of looking into sort of the history of communicating with the dead. And it's been in every single culture, it seems like, throughout history. Of course, ancient Egypt, they prepare people, to go to the far world. And they give them all kinds of things because they think, they've got a life over there. They've got a continuation of life in a different form. And even in the Bible, the Old Testament, the Hebrew Bible, there was, talk about King Saul going to visit the woman who told him that he was going to be defeated. They called her the Witch of Endor. And that was in the 11th century, where she was getting messages from Samuel. And Samuel was angry, and so he told through her that he was going to be defeated the next day. And the next day he was defeated by the Philistines, and then he committed suicide. So it was curtains for King Saul at that time. And then we had that big wave of what they called spiritualism in the 19th century, especially in England. But I think it was, across the U.S. and Europe mainly. And where they would have, the seances, and people were really getting fascinated by, things like communicating with the dead and the occult and things like that.
Right.
But it seemed like that some of that sort of started giving rise to a lot of hoaxes and, people trying to take advantage of others,
right. Well, that still happens today.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. The thing of it is, and, I hope I don't anger anyone. I don't mean to, but it's just what I've observed is that I've known a lot of people that claim to be or were psychic mediums. And I've seen evidence of things that were just quite uncanny, that they knew personally about someone, even personal about me. So I've seen that there is that. I've also experienced, brief moments of, where I'll know something before it happens.
Sure.
And my mother was surely like that. But I want to be very careful here with my language, but I found that psychic mediums, no matter how talented they are, it's not something that you can turn on like a tap. And so that it's possible, and I've had this happen, that I've talked to a psychic at one time and had an incredible reading, and then the next time, or maybe even any subsequent times, it just never hits. There's just, it's just not there. So, but I think because people kind of are choosing it as a career, that they're going to sit there no matter what, and give you a reading, but I think it's more hit or miss. So it seems like with the electronic evidence that you kind of get what you get, and it just seems a little bit more reliable.
Well,
not that it works every single time that you want to do it. But
that is true. It works. It works most of the time, but there are definitely exceptions. And same thing with psychics. I mean, the first thing is, there are definitely ones out there, and there are some really good ones.
Yeah.
But they're not around every corner, and it's very easy, just like it is for in the paranormal. I mean, people try to fake evidence and show stuff to get attention. I mean, you've got people claim to be psychic who do the same thing. Yeah. And, they may hit something correct here and there, but that doesn't prove anything. And it's just as difficult for us on the paranormal side to give that ultimate proof. But, that was one of the reasons why we kind of gave up, oh my gosh, probably after the first year of doing this, trying to convince anyone of anything. We're not here to convince you. We show what we've captured. We show what we've run into on investigations, and that is all we're here to do. I'm not here to change somebody's mind or make them believe something they don't believe or want to believe. Everyone's on their own path, and if people don't want to or don't think it's enough evidence to convince them, well, that's fine. I'm not here to convince them.
Now, when you guys go out on an investigation and you go into a place, have you gotten to the place where you kind of sense before you even fire up the evox that this is going to be active, or I'm just not sensing anything? Or can you feel a difference in the places that you go into?
Yes, you absolutely can. And the places that I can think of that stand off top of my mind just by you asking that question: the Diplomat Hotel in Baguio City, Philippines, the Oxbow Saloon in Payson, Arizona. And then I can't mention the locations because these were private home investigations, but I remember one we were on, I think last year or a year, maybe it was closer to 2, had COVID having pretty much shut most of it down. But we could feel it in the car like a block away from driving up to the house. Ooh. And when we got out of the car, I mean, your body was literally just not trembling, not from fear, but vibrating from the energy that was coming from this particular home.
I know exactly what you mean by that. I can only remember one time when that has happened to me. Not that I've gotten a bad feeling in a place, but even approaching it. And it's kind of embarrassing because it was kind of silly or and maybe disrespectful. I don't know. But right after the O.J. Simpson murders or whoever did it, but I'm pretty sure it was him. Anyway,
I'll ask that question.
yeah, please do, because I had really horrible dreams about that, in which Nicole Brown kept coming to me in the dream.
Wow.
It was very, very weird. And there was one point where we were at the Beverly Wilshire Hotel, and she was there, and I knew that he was around, and I was trying to get her to hide, and she said, "It's okay. I'm already dead." And I was like, wow, that was really a trip. Wow. But I had a lot of nightmares and dreams. Some of them were really scary, and some of them were just where she would come to visit me. It was just very odd. I've never met her in my life before, but for some reason that just really touched me. But anyhow, right after that it happened, a girlfriend of mine and I, we live here in Los Angeles, so we're locals, and we drove over to Bundy, over to the condo where where Nicole Brown and Ron Goldman were murdered.
Right.
And it was, we had to park down the street because there wasn't a lot of available parking. And as I approached that place, it was pretty far back from it. I started getting this horrible feeling, and I just couldn't stay there, just had to leave.
Right.
But it was very weird. I've never, ever had that happen before. But
that's your body reacting to the stimulus, the energy.
Yeah, the residual energy or something.
Absolutely, whether that be EMF energy, whether that be electrical energy, but when something traumatic happens, that energy gets stored. It gets stored in the ground. It gets stored in the rocks. It gets stored in the building if it happened within a building, and that can continue. That energy can continue to feed and release for a long time. I mean, the properties of physics say that it eventually needs to be fed by another source to keep it at its same level. Otherwise, it'll eventually change form. But if it is being fed, yeah, and your human body can sense some of it, but I think your spiritual body definitely knows and can interpret that energy, and when something's not right.
Yeah, it was really troubling. So with some of these home investigations that you've done, I would imagine people aren't calling you because they've got Casper the Friendly Ghost at their house, and they just want to, make sure he's comfortable. They're probably calling you because it's bothering them. Something is causing their family problems. Is that fair to say?
That is very fair to say. By the time that they usually reach out to us, they're usually somewhere between fear and terror. And it's because there's something occurring at their home that they are unfamiliar with, unprepared to deal with, and don't really have any place to get answers. So by the time they contact us, they're usually in a pretty desperate situation. Now, a lot of the times they do have a family member, a grandfather, an uncle in the house because they've passed. They're checking on their loved ones. Mm-hmm. The only real difference is it's not like television where everything's demonic. It's not like that. Have we run into that? Yeah, we have, but I think maybe twice in 11 years. And it does not happen very often. It can, don't get me wrong, it can, but it is not common.
It's not the norm. Now, is it so they're terrified more out of just not understanding what it is?
Absolutely.
then what's actually, there's nothing there to harm them, but it's because things are happening in their house. Maybe the lights are coming on, or the water taps come on, or they hear someone walking or something like that. And it's scary.
Right. Well, exactly.
Because they don't know who it is.
Right. And it would be to anybody. I mean, if you're home alone and you hear footsteps coming down the hallway, or you see a shadow run past and duck into another room, yeah, that's not normal. That happens. That happens a lot. And those are the majority of the calls we get, saying they're hearing voices, they're seeing shadows, they're things are being moved, or tapping noises, or footsteps. And that's what we go and check out. But yeah, 9 times out of 10, or maybe 99 out of 100, or 999 out of 1,000, it's not demonic. But the paranormal is still misunderstood. And when something's occurring that's not scientifically considered to be a natural phenomena, that scares people.
Yeah, absolutely. It does. Well, I want to, get into some of those stories about,
lots of
later on in the show. But also we're going to have a surprise guest popping in for a little while at top of the hour. And we're also going to be sharing some information. Now, Tony and I have both, and Cherie as well, we're both involved in the Dark Zone Network. And if you saw the Queen Mary event, you saw Tony. And if you saw I guess if you've seen any of them, you've seen Tony. I guess.
Yep.
Yeah, because you were in the
Lizzie Borden.
And The Conjuring. Oh, my gosh. That's right. That's right. So our buddies over at the Dark Zone have got something coming up very soon. And we're going to tell you guys about it so you can get in on it if you like. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be an event right here in Los Angeles, but it is virtual around the world. So be waiting for that. Now, Tony, tell us, please, when your show is on KGRA, and also about your Copper Canyon website.
Sure. Our show is on Monday nights. 7 p.m. Pacific time, 9 p.m. Eastern. And like I said, it's called Entity Voices Paranormal Evidence. And if you are interested at all in the paranormal and want to see what actually can be captured, this is a great show to watch, because we take paranormal investigators from all over the U.S. and we've got some scheduled on the other side of the planet. So come check it out.
Really?
Yep.
You got some international ghost hunters?
Yep.
Oh my
gosh. We're just trying to get timing because of the hour differences and stuff, but we're working on having them come hopefully in the next couple of episodes. But yeah, and then as far as the Copper Canyon Paranormal Research Center goes, this was the old Phelps Dodge Hospital. It was built in 1919 and basically served it was owned by Phelps Dodge at that time, and basically served the entire mining community that worked in a huge open pit copper mine down in Ajo, Arizona. Well, the building functioned until about 1985 or 6, when the copper mine shut down because of labor strikes, copper prices falling, and all sorts of other stuff. But if you want to see it, you want to know more about it, go to www.coppercanyonprc.com. It shows there's evidence up there of things we've captured in the building, rates for 2-hour investigations or 10-hour overnight investigations. But that's where you can find the information on the Copper Canyon Paranormal Research Center.
That is so funny that you guys have your headquarters in the most haunted place I can imagine. Because you guys have gotten so much evidence out of that place. It's just
it's a huge plus, not only for being able to have a location that we can go to on a regular basis if we want to investigate. It gives us an opportunity to test equipment. and it gives us an opportunity to leave equipment running, whether it be cameras, night vision cameras, parabolic mics. Let it run all night long. When we know no one's in there because we left and locked the door behind us, then we come back and review the evidence. And when we've got voices, we've got shadow figures moving, we've got what sounds like carts being pushed up and down the hallways. That's so much fun to do.
Oh, man. Well, we are getting ready to take a quick break. And when we come back, more with Tony Rathman and a surprise guest and information on the upcoming Dark Zone event that I know you will be interested in. So hang in there, and we'll see you on the other side.
Folks, this is very important information. What's to be said about CBD? AncientLifeOil.com. Our CBD is made from hemp and has 0.003 THC, which means this wonderful product won't get you high, no matter what amount you take. What does CBD do for the body? My hands are tied, but you can Google CBD benefits and be astounded. When you're finished reading, you'll want to log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. And purchase. Life is good when you feel good. People are tired of pain. People are asking for non-GMO organic products to help them with, you fill in the blank. Legal in 49 states, and again, our CBD is made from hemp. Ancient Life Oil is about helping people one by one by one. If you wonder how good the product is, the CEO takes it every day without miss. AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Have a great day.
Permanent industrial glue impossible to remove? Not anymore, because Handyman Formula by D-Bond is a patented chemical adhesive remover. It's used in the building and home maintenance industry, but now it's available for your home use, for your DIY projects. Unglue stickers, silicone rubber, labels, price tags, flex tape, weather stripping, carpet glue, wood glue, liquid nails, even 3M 5200. And it dissolves graffiti. Yeah, graffiti. Handyman Formula by D-Bond works, and it's safe to use on most surfaces. No need to call a professional. Don't get out the pliers and blowtorch. Just apply a little Handyman Formula by D-Bond and wait 90 seconds, then quickly and easily pull the items apart. Get unstuck. Visit DBondHandymanFormula.com. That's DBondHandymanFormula.com or call 561-575-4200. Handyman Formula by D-Bond.
Welcome to the new KGRA digital broadcasting website, thekgradb.com. Here you'll find great new content, including the KGRA Classics, great shows from our archives. You'll be able to see the show times and information so you can see what show is currently on air. The on-air live button. So just go to this section and you'll be able to hear the show live with exceptional sound quality. We also have the Vault section. Make sure to subscribe to get access to great content and special features. We have the make content for our latest news and events, so make sure to sign up and you can be part of our forum. So make sure to check out the new KGRA digital broadcasting website, thekgradb.com. We look forward to seeing you there, and we hope that you enjoy the new website.
We are the contact for alternative research topics. The Planet, KGRAradio.com.
Welcome back to Night Vision. I'm your host, Renee Barnett. I've been talking with Tony Rathman, and he has been sharing his knowledge about paranormal investigations, particularly electronic voice phenomena. And we've got a surprise guest coming up in just a moment. But before we welcome him on, I wanted to tell you about the next event from the Dark Zone. Now, Tony and I were just chatting during the break, and he's worked a lot with the Dark Zone, as I have. They're a good bunch of people, and they have some great events. So I wanted to share this with you tonight, and because I'm kind of excited about it. Their latest event is coming up March 26th to the 28th. That's coming right up. It's called Haunted Crimes Inside LAPD Station 11. And I'm just going to read a little bit out of the press release, if you don't mind. It's really no wonder that employees and visitors at the Los Angeles Police Museum often report strange activity. Mannequins moving, disembodied voices speaking, and even invisible hands reaching out to touch someone. Enough to make the hair on the back of the neck of the toughest cop stand up. Built in 1925, the haunted halls of LA's old Northeast Division Police Station number 11 have hosted many of the most heinous criminals and housed the horrific evidence used to prosecute their crimes. Murder cases like the Manson family murders, the Hillside Strangler, the Black Dahlia, the Onion Field murders, the Night Stalker, and the infamous North Hollywood shootout. In fact, a psychic medium recently revealed that one of the deceased bank robbers from that shootout often stands behind an employee and touches her hair. And then there were a lot of other puzzling cases, which just left us with a lot of questions, like whether or not Marilyn Monroe was actually murdered, what was really behind the Patty Hearst kidnapping, and how in the world did Natalie Wood find herself in that cold November water the last night of her life? Well, those are the answers that we're going to be looking for, among others, and it'll be easy to interact with the investigators on the scene. The station's going to be set up with multiple cameras, just like the other events, if you've seen any of those. And then we have a professional paranormal investigating team conducted by Susan Slaughter, Brandon Alvis, Kristen Luman, Rick McCallum, and here's a familiar face, Jimmy Church, who are going to be investigating the LAPD police station. So if you're interested, then, and there's going to be more people that are on there, but I'll let you read about it on thedarkzone.tv. It's only $17.99 for the full 3-day event, and it will be wonderful. I tell you, a community is really built up around these events, and so it's fun because you go and then there's a lot, you can tell the people know each other, and they don't really know each other, but they know each other from the Dark Zone events. And also we've got a wonderful Dark Zone fan page on Facebook that is headed up by a gentleman by the name of Brian Keller, and we really appreciate him. So go to any of those places, thedarkzone.tv, or go to Dark Zone fan page, and the information will be there for you. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce another paranormal investigator who has been at his work for a number of years, even though he's only 14. So we were trying to figure out when he actually started his work. And his dad thinks it's around 8. He says it's much earlier. So we're going to talk to right now Dylan Rathman. Hi, Dylan.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. You know, it's kind of a strange thing to meet someone as young as you that has as much paranormal experience. Does it seem weird to you?
No, not
I guess it's
really.
just normal for you now.
I mean, I grew up with it. You know, I had the influence, for as long as I can really remember it. It just seems natural.
I bet. Now, you actually go on investigations sometimes, and I wonder what has been the reaction of your friends at school, especially, I imagine a lot of them probably know by now what you're involved in, but when they first started figuring it out, did people think it was weird? Did they think it was cool?
I'm going to say most of them thought it was kind of cool because, a lot of them watched the shows like Ghost Adventures and Destination Fear and all these other shows. So they were really fascinated by it. And, when they learned more about how it's not all demons and all this evil stuff, it was really fascinating for the most part, I'd say.
Oh, good. Now, have any of your friends ever been allowed to go on a ghost hunt?
None of them have gone, at least not yet.
Do they? You think they want to?
Oh, I'm sure.
Now there has to be at least one time where you were somewhere and you thought, "Uh-oh, this is weird," and you got a little bit of the creeps. Can you tell me about any of that?
I'm gonna say the hospital on that one, the Phelps Dodge. There was a time, like, I was setting up a camera and I was going upstairs, and right when I was taking the tripod up, right when I was by the staircase, the loudest bang you could ever hear. I mean, my dad heard it down the hall, and it just, it freaked me out.
It was very loud, and the fact that, I mean, I don't know how old you were. I'm gonna guess probably 12. That wasn't that long ago. 2 years ago,
yeah, maybe a year or two.
But it was a huge bang, and I even felt myself jump. And it happened much closer to him than it did me. And the fact that he didn't chuck that camera on the floor and run
out screaming.
I was impressed.
Wow. That's really weird. And then, have you ever talked to any kids, Dylan, that thought they were having some paranormal problem or that they were afraid of it? Or have you ever been able to reach out to anybody like that?
Well, I'm going to say no. I mean, not really many kids have experience. They don't go into these haunted locations. So I'm going to go with a no on that one.
Right. But I thought maybe, someone that might be having something happening in their house or something like that. But nobody's owned up to that, right?
No one said anything about having any experiences at their home.
Yeah. Now.
But if there were, I mean, I would definitely reach out, help, and kind of help their situation.
Well, yeah. Well, you would know what to do. That would be very helpful. Tony, when you were talking about, helping people that were having problems in their homes, were there children involved in any of that?
Yeah, I mean, we've done hundreds of personal home investigations. So we've run into just about everything. But yes, I mean, I can think of one within the last 2 years that they had 2 small children, and the entity that was in the house they were claiming was running through the upstairs hallway. The kids were frightened. This was right before COVID broke. So this was probably end of January, the beginning of February, and we were able to get over there once before COVID was announced and it shut everything down. We know they're still doing okay, but anytime there are children involved, we always put that on as a number one priority.
Yeah. Now, were they little tiny kids or?
They ranged from about 13 to I think 6.
And were the kids afraid? I mean, were they aware that there was some kind of weirdness going on in the house?
I think they were. What we were told and what they told us. The 6-year-old didn't say a lot and just kind of shook his head. I think the other one was maybe 10. And he had some things to say. And then the older one, I think, may have watched one too many paranormal shows because he was all over the boards. But there was definitely an overall sense of fear in what they were saying. And they were definitely, we could instantly tell that they were experiencing something. And then we had to figure out what it was.
Did you figure it out?
We sure did. In fact, they had some problems that were occurring in the house that were not paranormal at all. They had some electrical issues that were putting out astronomical EMF levels. And, a normal EMF can range from 0 to maybe 1 or 2, 3 milligauss. But this thing was pumping out like 88 milligauss, which is 10 times any normal limit. And when you're around electromagnetic frequency of that magnitude, it can cause hallucinations, dizziness.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yep.
That sounds like a weapon.
Exactly. And it can cause feelings of sickness, nausea, all sorts of other things. So we were able to explain that away. But they did have an entity in the house. In fact, we knew that because Cherie did an EVP session in one of the first rooms, and they literally, the response that she got was literally, "Oh no, the Rathmans, get them out." They did not want us there, yet they called us by name.
Wow. That is very weird.
Yeah.
What, do you know what it was, or?
No, we were only able to acquire that on the first visit because the initial visit is always information gathering. Luckily, Cherie was able to do those first EVPs, but because of the COVID, we were not able to get back.
To get further down the road with it. Yeah. Well, it sounds like that might be one of the instances where it is something negative, because if it was their grandpa or something like that, I don't think his reaction would be, "Oh no, the Rathmans," No,
and I agree. And that is an indication that, it very well may be something more negative. Now, it could still be a negative human spirit, but it does, you're absolutely right, does lend itself to it being something more negative than a positive influence.
Right. Now, Dylan, do you have plans to continue with this? Are you going to take over the family business one day, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a career choice that I'm looking into, because, I love doing it, and it's very interesting, and there's, so much that needs to be answered. So yeah, it's definitely a large possibility.
I think you should have your own YouTube channel, Dylan. Have you ever thought about it?
No, but think about it now.
Oh, I think you should. I wonder if that's allowed. I know they've gotten weird on YouTube about kids and things like that, but I wonder, if you were giving out, teaching about paranormal investigation or answering questions.
Yeah, I'll have to
do
some research.
Yeah, do that. We're going to launch you, Dylan, right into stardom. But anyhow, well, Dylan, I'll let you go. I wanted to just have you on for a few minutes and say hi, and to let everyone know that you're the next generation coming up of paranormal investigators. So we've got some good ones in training.
All right. Well, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Dylan. Take care.
You too.
That's your boy.
That is, yes. And whether he wanted to be involved in the paranormal, I'm glad to hear that he still says he has an interest, because, I mean, there were so many times Cherie and I wanted to go, and the kids were young, but there were times we had a free weekend, and as working adults, it's hard to get those weekends. And so we did probably take the kids when they were slightly too young. Now, of course, we were there. We made sure they were safe. But with the paranormal, you never know, and you do run a risk. So we did out that nothing real bad occurred. But like I said, it makes me very happy to know that he does have an interest in it.
It doesn't sound like he's emotionally scarred.
No, he's not.
Sounds like he's handling it pretty well.
Right. He's actually been through a lot. I mean, like I said, that hotel we investigated over 50 times. I mean, he was probably there at least 10 or 11 of them. More. He's shaking his head more. And then that's very possible. And then we went to other different haunted locations, and he went with us. So he's for his age, he's had quite
he's
a bit.
A vet. He's a veteran.
Yeah. Plus he's done investigations, him and his older stepsister in the hospital, and they did a really good job. I mean, a really good job.
Yeah, she's really into it too, and I don't think she has any fears about it from what I know of her.
No, not so much.
I think it's the fact that you probably did expose them to it early on, so to them it was kind of a normal experience. Right.
We kind of took the paranormal to them and just made it the normal.
Right. Which is kind of a good way to do it. I mean, I think that's maybe demystifying the paranormal isn't such a bad idea.
Well, there's so much debate about, because that question comes up a lot, is when children are old enough to become involved in the paranormal. And the first thing is it depends on the child.
I was just going to say that. I would think it would depend on the individual kid.
Absolutely. There's no defined age. It's when their level allows them to understand what's happening, that they're not afraid. And our kids had some special treatment because we do this practically at least 3-4 times a week, whether it be spirit boxes or whatever or investigating or whatever. But they got exposed to it early, and they at least had us there to show them and to teach them and what from right from wrong and what's dangerous and what could get them into trouble. Whereas, there's new investigators out there today that get done watching a season of Ghost Adventures and say, hey, I can do this, and run off and do it, which, that's great that they've got an interest. You just got to do it right and be safe.
Yeah, exactly. I think it depends on the kid, and it also depends on the parents, because the way that you guys handle your investigations is very, very respectful, and I don't see anything that you're doing that would draw, negative energy to you. I think you're doing everything you can to sort of set up that atmosphere, that positive atmosphere, and that, helpful atmosphere that, that doesn't, necessarily bring on negativity. Because I think kind of negativity attracts negativity.
Well, you couldn't have said that better. Somebody who having a positive outlook, a happy demeanor, even while you may be in a completely freaky place, and a strong faith helps too. But demonic or evil entities look for those weaknesses. They look for somebody who's depressed. They look for somebody who's, having, emotional difficulties, because it weakens them and they're easier targets. And if you have that positive, happy attitude, and as well as a faith, it makes you a much harder target for something negative to get a control of.
Yeah. And now you actually teach people how to investigate properly, right?
We sure do.
That's part of your Copper Canyon, or is that called something else?
Nope. You are absolutely correct. When we set up the Copper Canyon Paranormal Research Center, we wanted it to be something that no matter what level within the paranormal that somebody was or a group was, that they could come and experience something new. So like the 10-hour overnight investigations, and we've had people rent the building out who may not have had a lot of experience, but they still had a great time. But we've also wanted people who had maybe never done an investigation for. We do 2-hour, what we call a tour investigation, where we give them a tour of the hospital. Then we show them the equipment that typical paranormal investigators use. We teach them how to use it. And then we set them free in the hospital to go use the equipment and capture their own paranormal evidence. And that's a great experience to somebody who's maybe watched a show and wants to see what it's like in reality and see what kind of stuff that actually can be captured. So yeah, that's kind of like step one introduction. And then, we will teach We will teach classes on specific instrumentation and how we use it and how best to capture stuff with it. We'll show combinations of equipment on how to use them together to take the evidence that you capture and raise the value of it by having multiple pieces of equipment react simultaneously.
That's amazing. And then, like, is that like a weekend long, or how does that work?
They're usually, any of the classes are, I think the longest one is 3 hours, but they range from an hour, 2 hours, and 3 hours.
So if I wanted to be a paranormal investigator, how many sessions would I need?
Well, that's a whole nother story. We can teach you how to use equipment. We can teach you how to properly investigate. Because the paranormal is a field that there's no true certification for, there's no true justification of what you're going after. There's no scientific spelled out basis of what you're even going after. So the fact of saying that, I'm a qualified or I'm a certified investigator or a qualified investigator, you kind of get that over time, and you're gonna make mistakes in the learning process, which is why we recommend that you have someone with you that is either of a group or you're actually with the group that has done this for a number of years. And when I say number of years, I'm talking 5, 6, 10, because they've already made the mistakes. Learn from them, go with them, learn from how they do it, how they use their equipment. And then that way you'll avoid the pitfalls and the mistakes that you're going to make if you don't learn from somebody who's done it for a number of years.
Yeah. That's good advice. I always forget to remind people that we have a live chat room going during the show. So if you'd like to send a question for Tony, send it, go to Discord and look at KGRA and join the chat room. Be happy to take your questions. So now the scariest experiences, or the most sort of, I don't know if you get really scared, but maybe unnerving experiences, or the experiences where you have felt like, there was something not good there, like the house that you just talked about. Has that been mainly in private homes, or have you been to a bigger location, a commonly investigated location?
It has happened in private homes. And, it's funny that you would think that the bigger locations would have more of that darker, and not saying that they don't, but it's amazing what kind of dark entity will survive in just a regular home. And of course, I'm going to assume that's because the people that are in there are the target, but
it's just the fact that there are people there, period.
True.
Like in some of those locations, the bigger ones, they're usually big empty places, or a lot of times they are, but there's actually humans in a private home, and maybe they somehow feed off that energy or something.
Well, with no doubt, in a negative entity case, I mean, their energy drives from, negativity coming from the household, and they will literally put efforts to increase that negativity, the fighting, the arguing, because that feeds them. And that is why places like individual homes, you can automatically assume when you walk in and you determine that there is something negative there, that you're also probably going to have to fix some issues that are occurring within the household itself and the family members.
And do you talk to the people about those things?
Well, they usually come out on their own, because with the succession of questions that we ask when we're trying to determining what's happening,
right?
Most of those answers kind of flow out through the course of the questions that we ask. Now, from a psychological standpoint, those are not issues we handle, but we do have connections to refer them to.
Oh, I see. So, but you do advise them that they should address certain problems or situations in the house, and you
correct. And those situations can be anything from husband and wife arguments to children being absolutely terrified and don't want to go anywhere near the house, let alone their room or sleep in their room at night. And there are actually trained, qualified people out there that are medically and psychologically trained to help in situations like that.
We talked earlier about, how, some people, like, if they're in a vulnerable state somehow, that weakened somehow, then that's when they get attacked by something negative. But, I've also heard that when people have serious alcohol problems, that somehow leaves them open or vulnerable. Have you found that to be true at all?
Yeah. In fact, any sort of chemical dependency.
I was going to say, I would think drugs too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Any chemical dependency can weaken their ability to fight off the negative energies that are trying to influence them. And when you're not of sound mind or sound body, that opens them up to be an easier target for a negative entity to take advantage of.
Gosh. Could you share any other stories about any private homes? To me, it's really interesting when there's, people in a family involved, and to know how something is affecting them, and then, how you were able to help them. Is there anything else along that line that you could share? I don't want you to give away, of course, any personal information about anybody.
Absolutely, I can. We have literally terabytes of data from personal home investigations. So yeah.
I didn't even realize that.
Oh yeah, we have an amazing amount of data, and we keep it. Now, we don't share any of that because it's private home investigations. But, one of them that comes to mind was a husband and wife, and they had a baby coming on the way. And they called us up and said, something's not right here. We're hearing voices. We're seeing shadows. We're waking up in the middle of the night for strange reasons, by sounds, by, footsteps. So we went over there, and we did 3 different investigations at this house. The first one we did, we knew there was activity there. We got EVPs. We got voice responses to questions we were asking. But then we went back again, and we did some spirit box to get further information on what was there. And we got a ton of information as to multiple spirits being there. Then we called in some additional help, both people that can professionally, and I guess I use the word professionally kind of loosely because it's not truly a profession, but they are trained with years of experience of removing negative spirits, closing portals, all that sort of thing. There were 2 portals that were closed in the house. These spirits were not the same ones from our 3 investigations there. They varied, which told us they were coming and going on their own. We had the house, I guess it was basically a minor rite, where it was kind of exercised and everything was forced out. And Cherie actually captured an EVP where just before that minor rite was done, and then coins soaked in holy water were placed in all 4 corners of the yard to create a barrier to keep them away from the house. But before that was done, Cherie did an EVP session in the 2B child's room, which the child, I think, was only a few weeks away at the time. And she was telling the spirits, you can't be here. You're not welcome here. And the response that came back on the recorder was a male voice. And he literally said, "We're sorry." It was unbelievable.
Oh, wow.
So it wasn't, at least that one was not of any dark nature, any dark entity. This was a male voice that was in the room she was doing the EVP on, and she said, "You need to leave. You're not welcome here. You're scaring the family." And the response, clear as a bell, he says, "We're sorry."
Oh, wow.
And then more of a one that was kind of comical. We got called to another house, similar occurrences. They have some outdoor cameras and indoor cameras within the home. And this voice showed up while they were sitting in their living room over the actual audio that was captured by the CCTV camera. So they came to us and said, "Is this normal?" And we listened to it, and no, it did not sound normal at all. So we went over there.
What did it sound like?
Well, the funniest part is that the kids were talking to the mother sitting on the couch, and you were hearing somebody responding, and they were responding to what was being said. And it was a male voice, and people, obviously the first connection is people are saying, well, those cameras, if they're operating wirelessly, they can pick up signals. Yeah, we agree that's true. We know that can happen. But this voice was responding to the conversation happening within the room that the camera was maybe, 8-10 feet away from, up on the ceiling, aimed down. And you can hear the voice actually responding to the conversation that was being had. And it was funny because the voice was actually positive, saying things like, that's good, and she's a good mother, and it was crazy. So we went over there to investigate.
Wow.
And they were saying they were seeing a shadow upstairs. So we set up motion detectors, we set up laser grids, we set up night vision cameras to capture if the laser grids were broken or the motion detectors went off. We set up DVRs digital recorders to capture any audio that may appear. And when we were setting everything up, and I think Cherie said, if we've got everything set up, we're leaving now. If you're here, let us know. And so we let everything run for a variety of hours, came back to get it, to check it, to see if we got anything. And I get it home, and the first thing I want to see is the camera, because the camera is going to tell me if, the laser grids were broken, if the motion detectors walked by, if the shadows, anything shows up. The camera didn't record. It just, for some reason, didn't work. Well, the funny part is the digital audio recorder did work. And when I'm playing it, the first thing I heard us say was, "Hey, we're leaving now. If you want to show yourself, that last statement that we said." The next statement was an EVP from a male spirit that said, "Your camera isn't working."
Oh.
So we set up all that gear to try to determine whether something was in the house. And here he turns around and leaves an EVP on a recorder that tells us, and we didn't even know then, he says that your camera's not working. And he was absolutely right. And the funniest part is when we played it for the people in the house, she said, "That's my uncle. He passed away like 9 months ago."
Oh my gosh.
So who was in the house was actually a past family member.
Oh. Wow. That is amazing. Now, have you ever like had people like maybe you were on a paranormal investigation, maybe at the hospital or something, and had people get scared and want to leave?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And
What
that does
happened?
happen. And, even after 11 years of doing this, I mean, I'm not going to lie. There are times that I will get shaken. There's things that happen spur of the moment that will give me jump scares. I've never run out of a place, but we've walked away. And one of them that comes to mind is a hotel in Douglas called the Gadsden Hotel. And Cherie and I spent 4 days or 3 days, 3 or 4 days, 3 nights, I think, there. And we were up on the 3rd floor, and the energy up there was so vicious that her and I got into some of the worst arguments while we were there. And finally I just looked at her and I said, come on, we're walking out of here. We need to get away. And so we left the hotel and took a really long walk. The scary noises will give you that jump scare, no doubt about it, just like the one Dylan was talking about.
Yeah.
But there's multiple types of scary. There's visual scary, where you look at the place and it just looks creepy. There's emotionally scary, where it affects your emotions, or they affect your emotions to make you feel things, or you feel their pain or their sadness or their frustration. Now, and then there's physical scare, where you've been pushed or punched or scratched. And every place is different in the levels of which they affect you. But when you've got that one place that has all three,
Yes.
those are the ones that can be very unsettling.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, I think that would be, if something touched me, that would be a little bit much, I think.
It is.
Now, how often does that happen? Because you're right, it's different things in different places, but some places seem to have a lot of different phenomena.
Correct. I think in the 11 years, I think it's happened maybe 4 or 5. I've been pushed, I've been punched, I've been scratched. We've had stuff thrown at us, rocks, small, tiny corners of bricks. Matter of fact, I just had one. What was that, last weekend? Last weekend I was down investigating, and I was alone in the room, and the room wasn't even that big, and I was asking questions, and this rock came out of nowhere and hit the ground, buckled up against the floor and the wall, and rolled back. Where it came from, I have no clue.
Was that at the hospital?
It was.
Wow, that place is crazy active.
It is. It
really is.
And the more you push it, and the more you know how to interact with it, the better it gets. But those situations happen all the time. I remember one time in the basement of the Hotel San Carlos, which is the one Cherie and I investigated over 50 times. We walked down the basement. We heard a voice go, "They're coming." And we thought, oh, there's somebody down here. So we checked the whole basement trying to find whoever was down there. There was nobody in there. And then this huge metal cage got thrown from this shelf and went. I mean, if had it just fallen, it would have fallen off the shelf onto the floor. This thing was about 15 feet from the shelf it fell off of. And was heavy, so it's not like it would have slid. It came off of there with a push, with a force, and was thrown.
Wow. I bet that was a little unsettling.
Well, I have one even better than that. They in that basement, they like to shake the old water pipes, because the hotel is over 100 years old. They have multiple sets of pipes in the very basement, and they have a well down there, which unfortunately years ago, these 3 kids were down there. they were playing with a ball. The ball went into the well. They tried to get it out, and the well's actually part of an underground river, and they drowned. So there's
Oh my God.
rumor of kids being in that basement. But
you know what? Don't you find it some of the most seemingly haunted places, there is underground water a lot of times. Have you
absolutely
found that?
Well, yes. And
is it because it's a conductor, or what do you think that is?
It's an energy source. Running water will give a natural energy. And I do believe that spirits can use that to feed their needs and to create additional paranormal activity within the location. If you look at half the well-known haunted locations, they are either near water, up against a river, have some sort of underground river flowing underneath. But water is definitely a paranormal attractor of paranormal events.
You know, that reminds me, in some Native American culture, I'm not sure of all, but certainly some. I grew up in Oklahoma, you know, around a lot of Native Americans. And I know in some the ceremonies, especially, you know, the most powerful ceremonies, there's one element that is always present is moving water.
Yep.
And so I would imagine, and that makes a lot of sense. You know, we talked about, you know, I've talked to you a lot about, and people on the show have heard me talk about, you know, being in southern France and how one of the most amazing things about the area are the telluric currents. And there seems to be, you know, there's a lot of moving water and a lot of intersecting rivers and things like that around.
Yep.
And I would think that that would have something to do with that.
Absolutely. And like I said, there are so many locations, like I said, that have water around them that are feeding. I mean, Hales Bar Dam, even the Queen Mary, because it is sitting in the water. You know, if you look at different lighthouses known to be haunted, they're all near water. If you look at, trying to think of other examples, but there's just, there are hundreds of them.
And interestingly, many, especially in Europe, I don't know about here, but many of the old cathedrals are built over water, a running water source underneath.
They are, because, I mean, water was the be-all, end-all of life. And if you weren't close to water at that, you know, you'd have to walk to go get it or drag it in pails back. So they would put important buildings such as cathedrals really close to a water source because it was an absolute necessity.
And I wonder if it also might have had something to do with the energy, you know, the energetic properties of the water. You know, of course, you know, in the old cathedrals and things, I mean, you know, there's a lot of ceremony and ritual involved in, say, the Catholic Church. And I wonder if they weren't privy to the fact that, you know, this energetic source might, you know, forward whatever it was that they were trying to do.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. And when you add, you know, the water sources on top of things like ley lines and the different the different geography of rock formations underneath the land they're building on. I mean, when you can get ley lines on top of underground water structures on top of a granite formation, you will have paranormal activity that's off the charts. In fact, the Conjuring House had, I think, 2 of the 3. Yeah. Bel Air House has got 1, 2. I think they have all 3. But anytime you can get that mixture of ley lines crossing, some sort of water source, and you know, some sort of granite limestone bedrock, and I don't know if the granite and limestone hold the energy longer and releases it slower, or what exactly the case is there. But when you can mix those three, you've got a very good indication for activity.
Mm. And, you mentioned before that, you were down at the hospital by yourself doing some investigation. But you started out your paranormal, efforts with Cherie, and you guys have investigated place after place together. Do you notice a difference when you go to a place by yourself or when she's there? Is there something about her energy or the combination of the two of you guys together, you think, that sort of makes something, or not make something happen, but allows it to happen?
Well, I can tell you that if we are not together, neither one of us capture as much as we do when we are together. And maybe that's because that's how we started out. That's how 99% of the investigations always went. But if she is not with me, I don't capture as much as when she is there. So it is definitely a strengthening bond to have us both at the same location, without a doubt.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I mean, it reminds me of, an ancient alchemy. When they would accomplish what they called the great work, which was some referred to as, the Holy Grail, some, it's supposed to be, they've reached some level. It's always, with their partner, with their wife, because all the alchemists were men back then. But, if their wife was not present, it did not happen.
Right.
And I wonder always about that. And I thought, I just wonder if there's something about, your combined energy that, I mean, we're all kind of electrical beings, and maybe there's something just right about the combination of the two of you together, coupled with your approach to it, the way you respect the property and whoever might be there. But yeah, I feel like it goes beyond that. I think there's something almost magical about it.
I can tell you that without her, I mean, it just doesn't even feel right. And the energy feels like it changes a little bit, and then it's almost as if they're going, okay, where's the other half? Where this isn't the full set,
right?
And it seems harder when we're in different locations or not together. Everything seems a little bit more of a struggle. So I would completely agree that the combination of the two of us together creates something above and beyond what either one of us could do alone.
Wow, that is really interesting. I felt like that might be the case, but I certainly, didn't know for sure. But that sounds like a really interesting thing to kind of pay attention to.
Yeah, you nailed that right on the head, because and I'm sure if she was here, and I apologize, she's not. She was tied up tonight, but
yeah,
she
were
would
supposed
say
to talk bad about her, but we
yeah,
didn't.
I know. I was waiting for that all night. Because I'm sure she's probably trying to jump on when she can to listen, and I'm thinking, let's get something out there. She can go, oh, I should have been there.
Wow, that's great. That's so cool. Well, I guess I can't think of anything bad to say about her, really. I wish I could. That'd be fun, but I just, I don't have anything bad to say about the lady. She's pretty cool with me.
She'll appreciate that.
Maybe next time we'll drag her on too.
Sounds good.
Yeah. And oh my goodness. Now what's next for you guys? I mean, I know you guys are involved in a lot of different things, and what do you think the next level is going to be?
Well, we have some really cool stuff coming up, not only from our own perspective, with COVID starting to calm down. Well, not that it's necessarily calming down, but shots are coming out.
Yeah.
and some of the restrictions are lifting. We're hoping to get out on some investigations that have been postponed since oh my gosh, beginning of 2020. We were supposed to hit the 1886 Crescent Hotel. We're rescheduling.
Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Are you talking about the Crescent Hotel in Eureka Springs, Arkansas?
We sure are.
I can't believe you're saying that, because that was going to be my next question. Was like, well, it wasn't really a question. I was going to say, I wish you guys would go to Eureka Springs to the Crescent Hotel, because that place is crazy.
Yeah, it's awesome. We had it scheduled for February of 2020 and had to cancel it. We still got the vouchers for the flights, so we're just going to renew them, and I think we were there. I think we had 5 days, 4 nights. Oh yeah. So we're gonna reschedule it. It's got great history to it. It's like 1886.
And you got the water all around the
water,
springs.
Absolutely. The water.
You got all that energy. I mean, it's such a strange little place. I mean, I used to go there a lot because, I grew up in eastern Oklahoma, and it's not very far, to drive over there.
Right.
So I've been over there several times. But it's like driving into a completely different world. It's,
right.
The houses are all built into the mountainside, the little, Swiss cottage looking places. And, the cathedral that's built into the side of the mountain.
Yep.
Where you actually enter the church through the bell tower. And then there's that Crescent Hotel, which used to be a spa. A long time ago, where people would go and stay to take the springs and everything.
Well, they had a doctor there too. His lab was in the basement, who was doing some not quite so ethical things, which also makes it extremely fascinating.
That's right. A friend of mine, Barry Conrad, filmed there for some show that he was producing. And there was a lot of things on camera, just plain old camera.
Yep.
Things like, doors opening by themselves, and some kind of weird kind of plasma looking things flying, around, and things like that.
Those are some of my favorites.
Yeah. There was a lot of stuff going on, and I always wanted to stay there, but I never did. I never stayed there, but I'd love to. And I know there's one particular room that's supposed to be super duper haunted.
Yep.
Did you guys? Yep. Are you guys going to get that room? Do you know?
It was booked last time we booked it, so we got the next best haunted one. But we're going to try to get that. I can't remember whether it was room 11 or I don't remember what number it was. I'll have to go back and look. But yeah, we always go after the one that's considered to be the most haunted. Yeah,
that is. It's a beautiful place.
It is absolutely gorgeous, and the architecture is just amazing. I can't remember who the architect was who designed it, but but it's the history of it too just ties in with the paranormal activity. Plus, the hotel is very open to paranormal investigators, which is always what we look for.
Yeah,
we've been to lots of haunted locations where they don't even want to hear the word ghost. And that takes the fun out of it. But the 1886 Crescent is welcomes them and even is enthusiastic about it. So we're planning on hitting there. We want to hit Waverly this year. We've got a bunch of other events that I can't say anything about yet because they haven't been released. But we've got some.
Ooh, what are we watching?
We got some cool stuff coming.
Well, when it's coming out, you should let me know, and
I will.
And I'll make sure I let everyone know. So that'll be great. Well, boy, we're down to the last 2 minutes, so I hope you'll give out your website number, address again, so that if anyone wants to contact you about some of your classes,
sure, or
to request an investigation or anything like that, how do they reach you?
Well, the easiest way is off of our Entity Voices site, and that's simply entityvoices.com. If you're interested in the investigating the hospital or the classes, that is at coppercanyonprc.com, and emails are listed there. I think my phone number is even there.
You guys are on Facebook too, and
I'm on Facebook under Entity Voices Paranormal Investigations, YouTube Entity Voices Paranormal Investigations, Twitter. I can't even.
Dang, you're all
drawing
over
a
the
blank
place
at the moment, but we're on almost every social media. If you look up EVPI or Entity Voices Paranormal Investigations, you'll find us.
That's great. Well, thank you so much, Tony, and
thank you, Renee.
Thank Dylan for me. And you got to warn Cherie that we're going to get her next time.
I will. The second she walks through that door, I'm going to be like, you're in trouble, girl.
That's it. All right. Time's up. Next week, stay tuned. We're going to introduce a new special feature. So please join us. Thanks, everybody, and good night.